pleasure to meet you. That name, I've seen the name before.
I'm sure you have.
Are you a filter or?
You guys are on. We're ready.
We're right. Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to bring this meeting to order. This is the Neighborhood and Affordable Housing Advisory Board meeting for May 13th. Welcome, everyone. Agenda of today's meeting is available on the wall at the entrance. Please remember to silence your cell phones, turn them off. I'll be an example and do mine first. To ensure a complete record of the board's actions, we ask that each individual wishing to speak clearly state your name and spell your last name for the clerk. Let's take roll call. I am Frank Cornier, and I'm filling in for Chair Robin Field, who is out today. I will ask the remaining board members to introduce themselves and identify the fields that they each represent. We'll start over here on my left.
Yes, Sharissa Doty, Clearwater Housing Authority, Affordable Housing.
Linda Byers, resident.
Christine Bond, homeless advocate with St. Vincent de Paul.
All right, thank you. We'll proceed with next order of business on the agenda, and that is item 2.1, approval of minutes. So first order of business is to approve those minutes from the April 8th board meeting. May I have a motion to approve item 2.1?
Move approval. Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. Item number 3, citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here to speak about items not on the agenda? If so, please step up to the podium. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, item 4.1. We'll ask Mr. Mayu to present this item.
Morning.
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 I'm going to pull up a presentation. Oh, here we go. Okay. Can you see those on your screens?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good morning, I'm Dylan May. I'm the acting housing manager. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be presenting our recommended allocations for the housing subsidy funds in the city of Clearwater for fiscal year 2025 through 2026. These proposed investments align with the broader vision set forth in our 2025 through 2029 strategic plan and support the community's most pressing housing and development needs. Before we walk through the specific recommendations, I'd like to highlight the 7 key goals that guide our work under the new 5-year plan. Those goals are program and administration. This is to ensure that our federally funded housing and community development programs are managed effectively, transparently, and in compliance with HUD guidelines. Housing, of course, to increase the availability of and access to safe, decent, and affordable housing. Clearwater residents. Homelessness, to proactively address homelessness by supporting preventative strategies and partnering with local service providers. Non-homeless special needs, to improve the access to housing and support services for residents with special needs, including seniors, individuals with disabilities, and others facing systematic barriers. Community development and public services. This is to invest in neighborhoods through infrastructure, public services, and anti-blighted efforts. Economic development, to support job creation, workforce training, and small business development. And finally, emergency and disaster response. This is to build resilience by supporting preparedness, response, and recovery efforts for emergencies and disasters. These goals are more than just administrative categories. They reflect the lived realities of our residents and our city's values of inclusion, safety, and opportunity. All right, here. Okay, the annual action plan is a tool that we use to put these goals into practice year by year. It's a cycle that we follow every year. It starts in January and ends in August. It directs how we will use our federal housing and community development funds in the coming fiscal year to make measurable progress toward our strategic goals. While I will present the budget figures in some detail shortly, I want to focus now on how our proposed allocations directly support each goal area, and with particular emphasis on the housing subsidies. In developing the proposed budget, we took into account, of course, our strategic goals that we just went over, and our departmental goals, which include strengthening affordable housing inventory, community service, and community development, while assisting Clearwater's most vulnerable populations. And now I'm going to go over the budget, which I printed some budgets for you guys. There's two different copies. So one's landscape mode, so you can kind of, it's a little bit bigger. And then the other one's if you want to see the full budget on one sheet. I'll also pull it up here on the screen. Okay. So as you remember, the last meeting, we had presentations from 20 applicants, or for over 20 applications for our funding. The TRC, the Technical Review Committee, provided their input, and I have completed the staff scoring. The proposed budget takes into account those scores and provides equitable distribution of funds based on the scores, of course, feasibility, and past performance. It's important to remember our funding caps. So we are capped at 20% of our CDBG and 10% of our home entitlement for administration. And we are capped at 15% of our CDBG entitlement for public services, public service activity, which equates to $141,072. Our budget has 7 major categories that are all in line with our strategic goals: public facilities, public services, admin, economic development, housing pool, homebuyer education, and removal of slum and blight. When budgeting for these allocations, we take into account what is likely to fund this year and what projects are projected for the next year in order to develop the proposed budget and total expected amounts of funding available. As you can see, we have taken a slightly different approach this year with regard to our public services, and we are funding more projects under our public services at lower amounts than the previous year. The department believes that this will provide for the most impact with our available funds, while accomplishing our homelessness, special needs, and community development goals. These programs are Hispanic Outreach Center's Youth Leadership Program, West Care, Gulf Coast Legal, Metropolitan Ministries, Pinellas Opportunity Council, and Hope Villages of America. We have confirmed these organizations will still accept the grant funds at the lower amounts. For our public facilities projects, we have chosen 4 public facilities projects totaling $540,874. This includes HVA, Hope Villages of America's storage upgrades, food storage upgrades, directions for living facility upgrades, which includes facility interior doors, exterior doors, and safety improvements. Maddie Williams emergency generator installation, and where am I at here? Oh, SVDP's campus upgrades, which includes air conditioning replacement, and their parking lot needs significant renovations, so we have that on there as well. We budgeted $189,096 for admin costs, which is the max amount for CDBG, and it's consistent with years past. With regards to our DPA programs, we have budgeted $60,000 for home buyer education, and there will be a portion of our admin that is budgeted for DPA servicing, down payment assistance servicing. We've also budgeted $750,000 between home and ship for the down payment assistance itself. We have also budgeted for our economic development goals, which includes funding for Prospera, We Care, and our commercial facade program, which that has been under design for, I think, the last 2 years now, and we finally have a solidified program, so that is live at the moment. We're actually sifting through applications as we speak. I think we have, Donnie, we have 7 applications in right now? We have 7 applications submitted for that program. It's also important to note that majority of our home and SHIP funds are being allocated for the creation and preservation of rental and owner-occupied housing. We have several viable projects that are in pre-development and more coming in every day. This will help to accomplish our housing goals. It is also important to note that we have not received our allocations amount yet, our allocation amounts yet, but I expect them in the near future, hopefully before we bring this back with the final AAP. We'll adjust those amounts and our budget as needed, depending on the allocations, and then, again, that'll be presented at the next meeting, hopefully. Okay, so next steps. 30-day comment period is scheduled for June 8th through June 7th, 2025. And that the draft of the 2025 through 2029 consolidated plan, including the action plan, will be available for public comment during that time. The plan will be coming back to NAHAB on July 8th for your recommendation, and then to City Council on August 4th. And with that, I have the team here to answer, and our consultant from Wade Trim to answer any specific questions. I covered it all?
You sure did. You did a great job.
I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan and staff, for putting this together. It seems to be pretty comprehensive and taking into account what the community has requested and needed, or needs are in the affordable housing space, so thank you.
I have one question, excuse me.
Yes.
There were 21 plus applicants, and I didn't do the math. How many actually got funded?
Of the total between facilities and services, I think we're looking at 7 plus 4, 11.
Okay.
Yeah, majority of the services that could qualify were accepted. You know, some of them were knocked out early on the scoring because the funding wouldn't allow, the guidelines for the funding wouldn't allow.
How is the allocation determined between facilities and services?
So public services, our total amount of public services is capped at 15% of our entitlement.
Okay.
And kind of going through the applications, I mean, it was really tough. All of them
Yeah.
are great services, they're great partners. And so instead of, you know, last year I think we funded 4 services and we denied a lot of applications. This year I think we want to take a different approach and try to fund as many as possible. So we basically split it proportionally. I mean, we allowed everyone to have a proportional amount compared to the amount available. As far as the facilities are concerned, you know, we'll build the public service budget first, and then from there we'll determine what we have left for everything else. You know, we kind of went by historic budgets and then also looking at what projects are coming up next year to determine all the other fields. I mean, again, administration is kind of the same every year, but then we arrived at that number, that $540,000 number. And that allowed us to determine what public facilities projects would be funded. Only one wasn't funded, and that was due to, it appeared to us that it wasn't going to be feasible. We weren't even 100% sure we'd be able to do it under the guidelines. And actually, there's 2. There's another one that definitely was not able to be done under the guidelines because it was in our facility.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Were they funded at the amount requested, or did you modify the amounts requested during the budget process?
For the facilities projects, those were all funded at the amount requested, plus the additional inspection fees. For the services, majority of those were funded at a lower amount. We did contact each of the organizations, and we let them know that it would be lower, and they still agreed to accept the funding.
That's great.
If I remember correctly, there were applications that came in that also didn't qualify.
Correct.
Because of the program requirements, or the amount requested exceeded the amount of funds that were available, so
Yeah.
so I went through that process as well.
Yep.
And those who weren't funded or aren't going to be funded, they're notified?
They will be notified after, I believe, the next meeting, which will be the approval of this budget adjusted to our allocation, and the AAP as a whole.
Yeah, I've applied for funding and never heard back before, and it's nice to hear back, at least get some feedback.
Yeah, we were discussing that yesterday, sending out letters to everyone, whether you
Great.
were accepted or not.
Great.
Is there, great question. just a follow-up question. If any of the applicants wanted to have a sit-down with staff about how they could have made their application better or increase their opportunity for funding, is that an option? If
We
they-
welcome it. I mean, you know, grant writing is a unique skill, and I feel like a lot of times we have to call and verify things or make sure that they actually meant to submit the application the way they did. And so, yeah, we welcome, come in, ask us questions. You know, if you have questions during the application process, you know, I believe you can ask us that. It may have to become public record, like we may have to release that as an addendum to the NOFA. But, I mean, if you have the question, probably someone else does too, so, yeah.
Those that were approved and others that weren't, are they also receiving funding from the other entitlement communities, Pinellas County, Largo, et cetera?
Some are, most of them are. Yeah.
Most of them are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
No?
All right. Any public comments or questions? All right. Seeing no further comments or questions, may I have a motion to approve?
I move approval.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 4.2. Mr. Mayu will be presenting this item as well.
Dylan Mayo, Acting Housing Manager. This is a discussion on a proposed change for our home ARP funding strategy. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development gave the city a one-time grant of approximately $1.64 million through the Home ARP program. It's the Home Investment Partnership American Rescue Plan. These funds are specifically meant to help people experiencing or at risk of homelessness, as well as others who are in need of state housing. HUD requires cities to use this money for specific purposes that direct benefits to those qualifying populations. And importantly, if the city wants to shift more than 25% of the funding from one use to another, we are required to go through a formal process called a substantial amendment. So far, we've made two such amendments. The first was in June of 2022. The City Council approved an amendment to add the home ARP funds to our 2021-2022 annual action plan. That includes setting up a plan for how we'd use the money, allocating it across three areas: TBRA, or tenant-based rental assistance, development of affordable rental housing, and planning and administration. The second amendment we made to include a new category called supportive services, and we adjusted how funds were divided among the new and existing projects. Now we are proposing a third amendment. This change would shift funds away from the tenant-based rental assistance and supportive services and instead fund the development of affordable rental housing. So why are we doing this? The goal is to have a bigger impact on long-term housing stability by expanding the number of affordable rental homes available in Clearwater, again, focusing on those who are most vulnerable. The total amount we're working with is $1,637,567. That doesn't change. We're simply proposing to reallocate those dollars to be spent on needs, to be better spent on needs by the community. It's important to note that all of our planned projects and funding not mentioned in this reallocation will remain unchanged. To make sure this process is transparent and inclusive, we're holding two public hearings where community members, local organizations, and other stakeholders can share feedback and ask questions. These hearings are your opportunity to have a voice on how these funds are used. The city has until September 30th, 2030 to spend the home ARP funds. This proposed amendment will go to City Council on June 5th for final review and approval. With that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
So are you saying money previously used toward rent assistance, financial rental assistance, is going to be used for renovations or development of housing? So like structural?
Correct. Yeah, so we're moving away from basically TBRA projects or services to, we're moving those funds into the development of permanent supportive housing.
Because the bottom line is we need more housing.
Correct.
So you're going to concentrate then primarily on multifamily rental rather than single-family?
We're going to put out a notice of funding availability, and we're going to be looking for a developer to develop multifamily, something that maybe correlates with a homeless program in the community. There's a lot of programs where, you know, the homeless are assisted, and then once they've graduated that program, they still don't have housing. You know, they can't afford market rent, and there's nothing kind of in between. So that's what we'd like to see developed.
I have a question. How does that impact the programs, eventually the money that's already approved for the current programs? What's going to happen to those programs by shifting that money? Are you giving those people notice?
We will give those people, yeah, so those services or programs that were awarded those funds, or those funds were approved for, they were never officially awarded. So we will be sending out a letter letting them know that we're reallocating the funds. Yes.
And how many programs is that, and how many people does it affect?
4 or 5, can you look that up?
Organizations?
Yeah.
And how much notice would they get?
They would, I mean, once this is approved by council, we would send that out. But until it's approved, we can't really deny the funds. We wouldn't tell them that the funds have been removed.
So have the parameters been established for the residents, like AMI or anything like that?
So for home
Here, you
ARP,
want to come up here? Donnie's our home ARP expert, so I'll let her answer.
So Dr. Dania Perez, DANIAPEREZ. So for home ARP, yes, HUD already established the income limits. So it's for a certain qualified population. So they have to, there's different guidelines to what that means. So as of right now, there's going to be for people's income is 30% and below AMI. And then there's a category that they can do 50% of AMI, but they have to qualify under that specific definition. So HUD already has their definitions and what the qualified population is, and we're just going to follow that.
And the rents are going to be established based on bedroom size and household income, correct? According to HUD's.
That follows, yes, that follows a
Okay.
normal home guidelines,
Right,
yes.
okay. Are you going to be using other funding sources in addition to the 1.6 million? Doesn't seem to be a lot, to be honest. So are you going to be utilizing other sources of funding to combined with this program?
So in our budget, you can see majority of our home and SHIP funds are going to go toward the development of affordable housing, and a good portion of that's going toward rental housing. So yes, absolutely. The home ARP funds are specific to a qualified population, so not every project would qualify for those funds. But should one and they need additional funding, then we'd absolutely look at, you know, additional funding through either SHIP or potentially home
Or
funds.
economic development funds, or downtown development, special taxing district funds, and every other fund other than just CDBG home and SHIP
Sure.
could be used.
Well, and again, I mean, you know, CRA is their own entity,
Right.
but we partner often with
I
them
know you
on
do.
projects and looking at stacks. So.
In Pinellas County?
And Pinellas County
Mhm.
and the land trust and,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a big project. That's you know, to put all those together, all those different entities, it's going to take some work.
It takes work, but you know, we have really good partners in the
Mhm.
region, and everyone works together really well, and we all come together on multiple projects. Indigo is a really good example of that. I mean, it has Pinellas County, it has the land trust, it has us, it has the state with tax credits.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big project, and
Yeah.
that's a big team, so.
Yeah.
I think on the emails I'm getting, the email chain has around 40 or 50 people CC'd on it, so, yeah.
And who's writing the plan? You all in-house are writing the plan for this?
For Indigo?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, for our portion of it, you know, when a developer comes in, a site selector for affordable housing developers came in late '23. And he spoke with us about the project. He brought in a developer on that, and, you know, we coordinated with the county, but now they have a team that coordinates the closing of the transaction, which should happen sometime next month. So it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of, you know, teamwork between jurisdictions and municipalities, but, yeah.
Again, sorry.
Excellent. I'm sorry, I just,
I hate to circle back, but to move these funds again, did you know how many, because we're talking about people receiving rental assistance with the current funds now. Do you know how many people would no longer receive it if the money was shifted? It was never, so they're not receiving, okay, that's what I wasn't sure, okay.
Yeah.
No agreements, okay.
Yeah,
So the 1.6 million is still intact?
correct.
So you have all of that
Well,
money there.
minus some admin. I believe
Minus
some
some admin,
admin's
okay.
been used out of that. So I think it's 1.392. Did I remember that correctly?
So 85% of the 1.6 probably.
Yeah.
Okay, 15% of the home ARP, that's.
Terry, you have to come up here.
Terry Malcolm.
So the home ARP is, from, we receive from the federal government, is to address homelessness or people at the verge of homelessness. We receive $1.6 million, and from that 1.6, 15% of that is to for administration, pay our salaries and any kind of administrative support. Now, what we're looking at a project where we're going to do affordable housing. We're going to be partnering with a known developer. They have established themselves. We know that they can do this work. So we're going to partner with them to provide the 1 point whatever is left to get at least 3 or 4 affordable units for folks that are experiencing homelessness or showing some level of, instability that they need this a permanent affordable housing to get them to the next step. So previously we wanted to do support services, but that's not going to create the impact as the affordable housing that Dylan is talking about, partnering with a known developer that will make this happen.
Thank you, Terry.
as a resident, I've been seeing a lot of for rent signs. And I don't know if it's because people are moving out of rentals and back into their homes that may have been destroyed by the disasters, the hurricanes and so forth. Is there any plan to offer landlords or those providing those rental assistance some type of subsidy to get a lower income person into that house? Because single-family residential rents right now are pretty high, but I see that they're coming down a little bit because there's competition, supply and demand. And there's a lot of rental houses with signs in the yards now. And I don't know, have you seen any discussion with those homeowners that are offering these rental assistance to offer them a program possibly under CRA that would provide them an incentive to gap that difference between affordability and what their expenses might be? It's just a program that I'm somewhat familiar with, and it seems to work when you're, I think she's going to address it.
Terry Malcolm. We do have a rental strategy.
Okay.
And that rental strategy would be able to assist renters to, help them to pay their rent. We don't want to get into the fact that we're partnering with the homeowner, because that would create a monitoring debacle for us. We don't have the staff to go out there and monitor every unit that we provide a subsidy to the landlord or the owner. But again, we do have a rental strategy. We might want to put it out there. If there's a demand for rental assistance within the city limits of Clearwater, we might want to advertise that strategy. That's under SHIP, where we can pay at least 2 or 3 months rent along with utilities.
Gotcha. Excellent. Thank you.
So you
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I've seen in this community is that there are people with Section 8 vouchers that have rental assistance, but there doesn't seem to be as much of a willingness by some landlords to accept the Section 8 vouchers.
It's true.
And I think what you're talking about kind of falls in line with that, with vouchers to help make rent more affordable, but we need more landlords too that are willing to accept Section 8 vouchers.
Just so you guys are aware, I was in a meeting not that long ago with the COC, and they are discussing this, and they're also trying to figure out a way to work with the, like, what you guys were talking about with the landlords, just so you're aware
Okay.
that there are organizations out there that it's aware of this, and they are working on trying to figure out ways to improve it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think some of it might be messaging, and there might be a need to educate the Society of Rental Managers or Property Managers to say, you know, these are normal tenants. You know, you have good tenants that pay cash, you have good tenants that are Section 8 tenants, you have bad tenants that pay cash, and bad tenants that are Section 8 tenants. But you know, it's still an opportunity to get market rate rents, and you also have to think about the families sometimes wait on these lists for years before they get Section 8 assistance, and they could lose that Section 8 assistance by mistreating a unit, vandalizing it, not paying rent, not complying with the terms of the lease. And you know, I know families that after waiting for years on that list do not want to jeopardize losing that Section 8 voucher and treasure it. So I think it's just a matter of finding the right tenant for the right unit.
I will say, we've noticed a little bit of shift in the market with more rent. We are actually beginning to gain at the Housing Authority more landlords.
Great.
New landlords we've never worked with, I think because the market is shifting a little bit. Unfortunately, though, our biggest problem is the cost to subsidize a family is $500-600 more than what it was several years ago. So we're unfortunately unable to assist as many families as we'd like to because the cost per month is extremely high. But we are seeing a little bit of a shift with new landlords
Yeah.
recently, so that's good. Probably because the rental market is, rents are going down slightly, so.
Softening,
Yeah.
Well,
it's
the
definitely
struggle I've
softening.
seen with the people we serve is that affordable housing is still not affordable. It's just too expensive.
Well, affordable housing is not affordable to build. So, you know, you've got all of the factors that continue to contribute to it increasing, like land and labor and lumber, and that all equals a higher total development cost. And it's a numbers problem, you know, so you've got higher development costs. You can only take on so much debt, and so you're left with a big gap. And as those costs increase, that gap increases. And that's a problem. Yeah. That's why the private market isn't getting into affordable housing, because they lose money.
Because it's expensive to be a landlord. Increased insurances, taxes, maintenance, it all adds up. You got to pass that expense on or take a loss.
All right, any other questions from the board for Mr. Mayu or his staff? Ms. Call, I apologize, I have not asked if there are any e-comments. Are there any e-comments? No e-comments, okay. Hearing no further questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and seconded, all in favor? Aye. None opposed, motion carries. All right, at this point, I'll ask the board members if there is any old business that they would like to discuss or any updates for any future meetings. Oh, it looks like I'm sorry, I'm on task. All right, seeing none, then we'll move on to the director's report. Mr. Mayu, do you have anything additional to report on?
I don't have anything additional at this time, other than Danya will be our new CDBG administrator, this acting administrator for the time being. Miss Irene Gomez is no longer with the city, and so For any organizations watching, if you could forward your emails to Danya for now, that would be helpful.
Thank you for the update. Board members, any final comments or questions before we adjourn?
Nothing other than to thank staff and for all their hard work and all the good things y'all do. I know it's a lot, and I appreciate it as a resident of the city, believe me.
And I will second that and say that, that what the City of Clearwater staff, the Housing and Economic Development Department is doing, I think is very conducive for the addition of affordable housing. I represent an organization that provides affordable housing, develops affordable housing, and I will say that the City of Clearwater is, in my opinion, one of the better entities to do business with. Very business-friendly, open-minded, and willing to meet and discuss opportunities for the creation and development of affordable housing here in Clearwater, and a great partner to have. So thank you guys for the job that you do. I would also like to thank the board members for your time. This is my first meeting, and so you guys have been investing a lot more of your time, and so I thank you for that. All right, I think that concludes the business for today. Our next NAHAB meeting is scheduled for June 10th. Thank you, everyone. This meeting is now adjourned.